What's happening YouTube? Ryan's War with his top 5 faces of WWE. My personal favorite faces throughout, me watching wrestling. So we're going to start off with number 5, and this person has recently retired due to injuries that WWE will not clear him out for, that other doctors have cleared him for, and that's Daniel Bryan. For me, I've been behind this guy ever since he started in WWE through the NXT ranks, coming as Miz's protege. When in theory, we know Bryan has more years of experience than the Miz, but in WWE's case, if you're not there, then you ain't made it. But, through his illustrious career, obviously untimely, short-timed due to injuries, he's won almost every single title. Yeah, obviously apart from the SmackDown Tag Team Championships, but, United States Championship, IC Champion, Raw Tag Team Championships. That's when it really started to kick off for Bryan because of that tag team he had with Kane, Team Hell No. That for me was hilarious, and it's funny because you look at the teams now that are basically comedy gags. Now, Kane and Daniel Bryan was pretty much a comedy gag once you remember and you think about it. With the promos with Dr. Shelby and the anger management classes and stuff like that. That's when you started to really see the funny side of Daniel Bryan and Kane, in fact. It was a pretty solid tag team for a while. And obviously we can't forget Bryan's big moment. One of his big moments at SummerSlam when he faced John Cena for the WWE title, which was good, which led to something even great, which was the build up, the start of the Authority, the build up to Daniel Bryan's journey to the WWE title, main event in WrestleMania, which he did. Obviously it started off with Triple H, basically being behind Bryan, so it seems. Cena, Bryan, SummerSlam, good match. In the end, Bryan picked up the victory to win the title. And obviously, Randy Orton was Mr. Money in the Bank at the time, and he did heed the warning to Cena and Bryan that he might cash in. And as he was about to cash in, you see the dramatic heel turn of Triple H, pedigree of Bryan. Randy Orton cashes in, covers Bryan for the win, and we have a new WWE champion, and thus the birth of the Authority. Now, I'll quickly say this because it will probably be a long video going into detail about why I've been so invested in these guys, but personally, I don't care. It's going to be a long video. So, with Bryan, for me, he kind of showed that, no matter what dream you have, that, nobody can tell you, that you can't do this, can't do that. When you have that self-will and that determination inside you to push forward in what you want in life, you know what I mean? And he overcame every sort of obstacle that the Authority threw at him, from Randy Orton, countless title matches, interference after interference, Shawn Michaels super kicking him at Hell in a Cell, and also with that we had the Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family storyline, and I'll never forget that Raw. I can't remember who was in the match, but it was a cage match, and the moment Bryan turned on Bray, the fans went nuts. I was happy, even though I saw it coming already, but the atmosphere of Raw, like just doing the yes chants, and he was kicking him, throwing him into the cage, like everybody was on their feet. For me, that was exciting. And of course, Occupy Raw, where all of the fans, Bryan fans, basically surrounded the ring, in the ring, basically having a stand. Bryan demanding him be put in the title match at WrestleMania. Triple H, Stephanie, not having it, of course, and after a while Triple H gave in. He just said, listen, if you can go through me, then fine. Even though Bryan asked for him to have a one-on-one match for him. So, WrestleMania, Bryan dethrones the King of Kings, that is Triple H. And of course, how can we forget that wonderful, wonderful, wonderful main event between Randy Orton, Batista, and Daniel Bryan for the title. What a match. Well told story. They tried everything to do to get Bryan out of the match so they can just have it down to Batista and Randy Orton. And for me, it has to be one of the best WrestleMania main events of all time in my personal life. So for me, that whole story just made me became one of Daniel Bryan's biggest fans. So number 5, we had Daniel Bryan. Now, going on to number 4, unfortunately this guy is not with us anymore. For me, he was a very lovable character from my childhood. And, you know, I've always tried to consider myself funny. People know me, I've always tried to make jokes. And this person, you know, always used to make me laugh. I used to see him come out of his lowrider or popping jokes. Or even the time he food poisoned the Big Show. That was funny. Or even sprayed sewer garbage at him in the ring. You know what we're talking about. Latino Heat, Eddie Guerrero. This man was simply amazing in the ring. It was great on the mic. It'd always make you laugh, as I just said. And I don't know, but Eddie, for me, from the moment he come in back in 2000 with Malenko, Saturn, and Chris Benoit at the Radicals, dude, for me, him and Benoit always stood out in that group, of course, as we saw later on. But Eddie's character was just too funny, too sleazy, and I liked it because, you know, as a kid, you kind of get influenced by what a lot you see, and, you know, we all try to be Eddie Guerrero. But especially when it comes to lying, cheating, and stealing. But, you know, that's another story for another day. But Eddie, for me, he was just something else, man. And to see him finally achieve the WWE Championship against Brock Lesnar, which at that time, you know, I didn't even see it happening. And, you know, it was hard for me to believe, to see this guy who you get behind, and knowing all the personal problems that was going on in his life at the time. You know, they even throw that in the storyline, if you remember, about Eddie's personal demons. And this was even relatable to how Bryan was, you know, in a sense of achieving the dream where a lot of people rip you off, and he proved it. Even if Goldberg speared Brock Lesnar during the match, Eddie still had to finish it. You know what I mean? And how could I sorry about this. How can I forget? Even though he was a heel, and it was kind of crazy, but the storyline with him and Rey Mysterio for the custody of Dominic. Now, it was a bit cringy at times, but the acting was hilarious. You know, Eddie just coming out there just being so cold-hearted and just so vindictive, just because he couldn't beat Rey Mysterio. And, you know, just to get one up on him, just thought, you know what, F it. Even though I told you I wouldn't tell you the secret, I'm still going to do it anyway, because I'm Eddie motherfucking Guerrero. I don't care. Now, that storyline for me was simply funny, and it was amazing, because you could see how good Dominic, Rey Mysterio's son, was at acting, like, because it made it look so believable at that point, like, you know, him in the ring with Rey, like, just trying to protect Dominic from hearing what Eddie has to say, and Eddie just being that son of a bitch he was at that time. And Dominic looking like all confused and messed up. He didn't even know who his father was. But again, that ladder match, that was a good ladder match. Unfortunately, Vicky kind of messed up the spot. But hey, it was a good match. So again, number 4 goes to Eddie Guerrero. Now, stepping into number 3. Now this one is a toss-up. between the number 1 and number 2. Well, number 2 and number 3, sorry. So I'm just going to say it. Number 3 for me has to be The Rock. Now, the reason why I put Rock 3, I'll get into is the reason why I will speak about number 2. Now, let's get to number 3. I know I jump on my words, but whatever. So anyways, number 3 has to be The Rock. Listen, The Rock was the coolest guy ever in my childhood, along with Austin and my number 2 pick. And who could be number 1, who knows. So, The Rock for me was great, man. He'd make you laugh. It'd make you want to hate him at times, sometimes. But even when you hate him, you're still loving him because he just makes you laugh. You know, the iconic people's eyebrow, know your role, you know. He's just great, man. The Rock was just great in my childhood as well. You know, a couple of traits you pick up with the eyebrow and stuff like that. Like, in the ring, he weren't great technically, but again, it's The Rock, man. You can't really hate on The Rock, man. The Rock just knows, it's just a great showmanship. That's just the word. Without rambling too much and even try to put words together. He was just a great showman. You know what I mean? And especially with him and Chris Jericho, 2 guys who I think are very highly regarded when it comes to mic skills. Like, I'll never forget, I think it was a build-up to, I can't remember what pay-per-view it was, but you might find out on YouTube. Check out The Rock and Chris Jericho, and they're talking about their families and stuff like that. That is hilarious. Check that out on YouTube. But, you know, it was somewhat bittersweet, I guess, to see him face Cena. When we saw Once in a Lifetime, I was alright with it. But a second time, I wasn't so keen on it because, of course, Punk was the champ. I was happy with Punk as the champion. The Rock come back. And it just made so much sense that, you know, The Rock was going to beat CM Punk for the title to face Cena. And then Cena gets the title back. I wasn't really too happy with that. But, man, The Rock's just The Rock. So that's The Rock, number 3. Number 2 has to be the dead man, The Undertaker. For me, he's made so much incredible moments in WWE history. Of course, you know, how could we forget the Inferno match with Kane, their first WrestleMania match, Mankind and him in Hell in a Cell in '98, Shawn Michaels, the first Hell in a Cell, Bad Blood, you know, even the retirement match he had with Shawn Michaels, and the match he had at 25, which is one of my favorite matches of all time, even though I like 26 slightly better for personal reasons. But still, Undertaker knows how to put on a show, heel and face. Now, for me, obviously, growing up, he was in the first scenes of me actually finding wrestling, Judgment Day 2000. So, for me to see that, to see him pull up on a bike, start raising hell, cleaning house, like, to me, that's when I fell in love with wrestling. Like, so he is a clear, I don't even know, he's an important piece in my history of watching wrestling. So I gotta give it to The Undertaker, man. You know, putting over the talent over the years, and yeah, I know a lot of people are not happy about last year's WrestleMania, neither am I, but it is what it is. And you know, again, putting over talent, there was one match I definitely recommend. It was The Undertaker versus Jeff Hardy, Monday Night Raw. I think it was a ladder match or it was a hardcore match for the undisputed title. Sorry, Universal title. That's all 10 years later. But that match for me was great because you look at Jeff Hardy, you look at his build, you look at his size, you know what he can do, but you know what The Undertaker can do. And for Jeff Hardy to put up a very good fight, Undertaker just made him into a star that night. The amount of times, you know, you actually thought you were going to bed, going to school the next day to say, yo, Jeff Hardy beat The Undertaker for the undisputed title. oh my god, you know what I mean? Like, that's how much I highly regard this match. Because if you look at Jeff Hardy back then, you look at Jeff Hardy back now, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? So props to The Undertaker. He's definitely number 2 on my list. And number 1, how can we forget number 1? Now for me, this person, now I never saw him start, but as I started watching wrestling, he came back, and this dude just blew my mind every time he come on the television. Stunner after stunner after stunner after stunner. You gotta be talking about the Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Come on, man. He's definitely one of the best faces of all time. Now, for me, again, I never saw him, McMahon and Austin, through the Attitude Era live. Obviously, I watched it later, but you know what I mean when I mean live, right? So, for him to come back during the storyline of Who Ran Over Stone Cold, just whacking up everybody, just stunnering people left, right, and center. Obviously, the ending to find out it was Rikishi was meh, but come on, man. Every time Stone Cold's coming out, you know you're getting excited. As soon as you hear that glass break, it's just wow, you know? And, boy, the rivalries between him and The Rock, it's just been absolutely amazing. Like, my favorite match, even though the ending was effed up, has to be WrestleMania 17 when him versus The Rock for the WWF title, WWF title, but whatever. Great match. It was amazing. Until McMahon come out, and it was like, wait, what was going on? And as a kid watching that, I was confused as hell, because this was one of my favorite matches. At that time, it was my favorite match. But to see the ending, I was pretty screwed up. But even when Austin was a heel, I enjoyed it. You know, the little gags he had with Kurt Angle, the 2-man power trip with Triple H was destructive. That was so destructive. You know, taking out the Hardys, taking out Kane and The Undertaker. Even that time when they were saying who called The Undertaker's wife. Undertaker was going on a rampage throughout that night, and then Stone Cold tried to pin it on Triple H, even though it was Triple H's phone. Triple H faced The Undertaker in a match, and it was all a big setup. So, I won't give him that. And even Stone Cold coming back as Raw GM during the Eric Bischoff days when he was co-GM, Sheriff Austin. It was amazing, man. So I definitely got to give it to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Personal favorite match, again, WrestleMania 17 with The Rock. Check that out. A few other matches. My favorite Stone Cold match of all time, Fully Loaded 1999, end of an era. That match was simply amazing. A lot of blood, lot of chair shots, lot of just fist fighting between him and The Undertaker. The build-up was really good, because the build-up was basically, if Stone Cold loses, he will never get a shot at the WWF title again. But if The Undertaker loses, McMahon will be gone from WWE forever. We all know that it ain't true. But that match, check it out. The ending was great. A lot of cameo interference appearances. Rock, Triple H, X-Pac. You know what I mean? It was great. It was great. Check that out. Fully Loaded 1999. So, thanks again, Ryan is War fans, for checking out my top 5 favorite faces. I will be doing my top 5 favorite heels during the week, so stay tuned for that. Please like, share, and subscribe. Find me on Instagram at RJ Wills, and you can find me on Twitter at RJ Wills. So thanks again, guys. Also Ryan as well on Instagram. So guys, thanks again, and take care.